everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Leticia, and there is a lot of things going on right now. Okay, my bedroom is actually not really in a condition where it should be filmed because I have laundry going on and I'm washing my sheets, and also I'm actually filming it right in front of my door. In my living room we have a fence door, or like an outer door, and it is just so beautiful outside. It's so nice and beautiful, and I just wanted to open up the door, you know, let the air breathe in and just kind of like, I don't know, have some fresh air in this house. And I apologize in advance for all the loudness from the cars that you're going to hear. School just ended, so you're going to be hearing a lot of cars going back and forth. So I apologize in advance for that. Today, I wanted to talk about a movie that well, it's not actually a movie. It's a show on Netflix that kind of hit hard for me. For those of you who don't know what show I'm talking about, or if you know anything about it or have heard of it, it's actually a show called, oh my gosh, I almost wanted to say You. It's not You, it's Northern Rescue. Northern Rescue. Where do I even begin with it? It's not a bad show actually. It's actually a really, really good show. However, it's not really binge-worthy show. It's not something that you want to like sit and binge watch for hours and watch all 8 or 10 episodes in one sitting. It's nothing like that. If anything, it's a kind of show that you actually want to watch little by little, like, you know, multiple days. I ended up watching one episode every day for breakfast, and that was it. I couldn't do more than one episode unless it was my day off and I had to get up and do something else. But other than that, I honestly couldn't watch it. It's a good show to watch when you're grieving. If you haven't seen the trailer on Netflix, it's actually about a family who had lost their mother, a wife, a sister to cancer. There's a woman named Sarah. She was married. She had 3 beautiful kids, and she ended up having cancer, which eventually she ended up not surviving and kind of left town. And it's just really about a family who is trying to figure out what the next step is. They are trying to figure out how can they move on with their lives, do what they do every day without their moms. And honestly, it is so heartbreaking, especially if you're someone who's grieving, because if you're grieving, you're watching how this family is going on and moving on with their days, and then watching them just struggling. You know, you honestly see the different ways how people grieve, which is I absolutely love about this show. I absolutely love that there is multiple ways to show how people grieve. You know, some people grieve by going on with their lives. They go to work, they do what they do best, they keep their minds busy and just not grieve as much. Whereas others, they get angry, they're just so full of anger that they have no idea how to express it but to rebel and do things that they would never think of, or do things that they normally wouldn't do. And then of course you have others who they just want to cry, or they just hold on to memories, they hold on to things to feel close to them. And I really like that. I really like the different ways on how everybody grieves, because honestly, people grieve differently. I'm grieving. I don't know if you guys are aware, but my sister did pass away 9 months ago, almost 9 months ago. She was killed almost instantly in a car accident, and it's rough. I'm not gonna lie, it's really rough. If you follow me on Instagram, it shows that I'm trying really hard to keep it together. It looks like I'm having so much fun and, you know, moving on with my life, and I am. But I also have my moments. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna start crying now. I also have my moments when I just want to cry. I have my moments where I just hold on to anything that has to do with my sister for dear life, and I just have no idea how to, you know, how to go with that. And, you know, I've talked with people who are still grieving, and they have always told me that it gets harder, but also gets better. And if there's anything that I have learned, is that I really need to take care of my mental health. And it's okay to grieve, but it's also okay to move on with your life. It's okay to do things that you always do, and not let the person who passed away, who you're grieving over, to let them keep you from moving on, which is why I like Northern Rescue so much. It is such an incredible show for people who are grieving. I have no idea how this even came across, because I've never seen or heard of a movie or show anywhere about a family or someone who had lost someone, and the ways, the steps of how people grieve. And it just seems like all of a sudden, ever since I found out about my sister, it just like instantly, everything that I come across has to do with ways on how to grieve and how you can grieve and move forward, which is so interesting how all of that just happens. And I guess it just happens to the people who, like, you don't really notice it until it actually happens to you, which I understand. I kind of get it now. In this show, Northern Rescue, the family lived in Boston, and they're trying to, you know, move forward. You know, things are not really looking so well for them, especially for the father. I can't remember his name for whatever reason. I think it was John. Yeah, John. He works for search and rescue, and he really wanted to be the commander, or he was supposed to get a promotion, but he never did. And his sister-in-law helped him get a promotion at, I forgot where they were at, like Turtle Bay or something like that, somewhere up there. And so it's just like basically about how, like, this family, they left Boston in horrible conditions. You know, they left the person who they loved the most, and of course some of them had gotten into trouble because of the way how they were grieving and how they were expressing. And one of the children actually ended up, by the way, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this show yet, I'm going to be spoiling a lot of parts of the show. So in Northern Rescue, they leave Boston with pretty much wanting to leave everything behind. The father, John, he was supposed to get a promotion, but he never did at his job. I think it's always only him and the oldest daughter. For whatever reason, I cannot remember her name. I don't know why, but I cannot remember her name. But anyway, the oldest daughter, because the way how she was grieving, and she didn't know how to react and how to express her feelings. She ended up getting into, well, it's not just because like she didn't know how to express it, she just wanted to really move on, just like really rip the bandage off and just move on with her life, and got into some serious trouble with a girl. And because of that, she got arrested, and for her to make bail and not get arrested, she had to seriously consider, not seriously consider, it was required and mandatory for her to take therapy. The two youngest kids, nothing really bad happened with them other than the fact that they had to grieve over the lost mother, and the family had to move to Turtle Bay with their sister, their aunt, John's sister-in-law, so they can be together as a family, and so they can just start fresh, start new, and try to live with their lives. Bad things started happening, and you know, they just ended up living in a aquarium for some reason. Not for some reason, I guess, like, I don't want to spoil the show too much because it's actually a really great show to watch, but I just don't want to spoil it too much without, you know, I want to say what the show is about without spoiling a little bit too much, because I still want to leave a little bit surprised. But they live in an aquarium now, and they're just really trying to move forward at the same time while grieving. And just the way how they go through, it's just so interesting, because since they had moved into this new town, they really haven't told anyone about their mother passing away or the wife dying or anything like that. So they're just, it almost seems like they're just really trying to move forward the way how Sarah, the mother, would have want them to move forward. And it shows how hard it is for a couple of them. You know, you see the father, John, making 2 cups of coffee and then realizing that the other cup of coffee was actually for his wife. You see how some of them are just like really stressed out, and they can actually hear their mother's voice. And it's just little things that for a person who's grieving sees it and think, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one who goes through that. You know, I'm not gonna lie, every once in a while I do hear my sisters laugh. Anytime I hear something hilarious, anytime I watch a video that I know for sure that she would like, or if it's a I don't know, video that we both used to watch when we were younger, and you know, I still hear her laugh. So it was really interesting to see how some of the kids still hear her voice, like their mother's voice, because I always thought that I was the only one who hears that. I really like how they really emphasize mental health in this show, because while you're grieving, something that you should really consider about is your mental health. Are you okay? Like, are you feeling fine? Are you really stressed or whatever? And I really like that they actually emphasized mental health issues, because it's the last thing that people think about when they're grieving. You know, the oldest daughter is seeking therapy. She didn't want to. She hated the idea of going to see a therapist, but it ended up helping her a lot, especially with her loss of her mother. And with the youngest daughter, she, you know, she just had a lot of situations going on, and it really made her realize that it's okay to take a day off for her to have a mental day, to have a mental day and just not think about anything and take care of herself. And I absolutely love that, because it's not something that a lot of people think about. It's not something that people consider thinking about, because you're just mostly thinking about how to get better. How can I get better? What are some of the things that helps me get better? The truth is, you really can't unless you actually sit down and you actually have a mental day. And I absolutely loved that about this show. There is, I'm not gonna lie, I do like the drama in it. There is some drama, but not a whole lot. But most of all, I really do like that this is a show about grieving for people who are grieving. It's a show that talks about how you can move on with your life. It's okay to move on with your life and still grieve. You know, I know people who have lost their loved ones for over 20 years and they're still grieving. It's okay to still grieve. And Northern Rescue had shown me all the different ways on how you can grieve. It doesn't always have to be you sitting down, rocking back and forth and crying all the time. There's no reason why grieving should be like that. Grieving is different. Grieving looks different to everybody. Everybody grieves differently. If you had to keep yourself busy, go ahead and keep yourself busy. If you just want to cry for a couple of hours, go ahead and cry for a couple of hours. If you just really want to go back and watch videos or photos of the person who you lost, by all means. Nowhere in the book does it say that grieving means that you have to be crying at all times. There's 7 stages of grief, and they talk about that a lot in Northern Rescue, and you can also always find them online if you ever want to know. But one of the stages is definitely denial and depression. And sometimes, for some people, they're in the denial and depression stage for a really long time. And for those of you who are still in that stage, just know that you're not alone. Sometimes I'm in denial that my sister has left. I still refuse to believe that she left, but I know that it's real when I send her messages on Instagram or on Facebook on Messenger and she doesn't reply back. It's real. As much as I don't want to believe it, it is. It's so hard not to be depressed about it. It's really, really hard. But sometimes the best thing to do is to surround yourself with people who really do care for you. They don't have to say anything. They don't have to do anything. They can just be there. You guys can just sit in silence. And sometimes that's what I prefer when I'm depressed and think about my sisters. Sometimes I just want to sit there in silence. I find the person who I trust the most, which is usually my fiance, and I just have him hold me until I feel better. A lot of people don't understand that sometimes you want to be alone. Sometimes they feel a little bit worried. They feel like you might, you know, have like suicidal thoughts, or that you might end up being really, really depressed. But that's just because they don't really understand grief. They don't understand that there are different ways to grieve, and you grieve differently than they do because you had a different kind of relationship than they did. Sometimes people don't understand. For everyone who's grieving still, It doesn't matter if you lost someone 3 days ago or 30 years ago. Just know that you're not alone. It's really hard to move forward, but just think about how much that person would love to see you make new changes in your life. And that's what I really like about the show. If you are grieving, I highly recommend watching Northern Rescue, because that show has explained what grieving looks like better than any meme, post, or video that I have seen. The only way how I can express how grief is that it feels like everyone else is moving on with their lives, like their days has continued, whereas my life has just kind of stopped. Like it just kind of stopped, whereas everyone else is moving on. But Northern Rescue did an amazing job. So I highly recommend you watching that show if you're grieving. I'm not gonna lie, it's really hard to continue watching that show, because you will have those moments, well, there are moments in the show where I just had to like honestly pause the show and just cry and cry and cry. I probably cried for like 30 minutes max. But watch it at your pace. If anything, I highly recommend you watching it at your own pace, and really just watch it when you're at peace, because it's the only way how you can understand the characters and what they're going through, just how you will be understood. If you know someone who's grieving, then I highly recommend watching this show also, because it gives you an idea of how other people grieve and how to look for the signs of when people are grieving. The biggest advice that I can give you if you know someone who's grieving is to just be there for them. You don't have to say anything. If they want to yell, hear them yell. If they want to cry, hear them cry. Give them a shoulder to cry on. Don't say anything, because honestly, we've heard it. The only thing we want is to be heard. We don't need advice. We don't want people to say, oh, that sucks. We know it sucks. It would just be really nice to have someone to just physically be there and just hear us, no matter what it is, to just be there for us and not say anything. Well, that's it for my video. I am going to end it right now before it gets dark and before I have more people looking at me weird because they are hearing voices, but it's coming from nowhere. And I'm also kind of getting tired of the cars going back and forth. So I'm gonna end the video here right now. I kind of hope you liked this video. It's a little bit different than what I normally do, but it is a video that I wanted to talk about for a while. I finished watching Northern Rescue. I absolutely loved it, and I really hope that they make season 2. It has been helping me with how I grieve. It's really different. I can't afford a therapist, but I would love to someday, as soon as I'm like able to afford one. If you have seen Northern Rescue, and if you are someone who is grieving at the moment, give this video a thumbs up, as I know that I am not the only one in this world who is going through grieving and experiencing all these kinds of stages by myself. And comment down below if someone in your life has passed away and what is your favorite memory of them. I would really like to hear that, and send positive vibes or prayers to you guys. And I will see you guys later with a positive, not crying sad video next time. Peace, love, and hair grease. A lot of people don't. Yeah, there was a kid just walking past and he just saw me.